Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 24th of 2024, and just a couple of weeks ago, we know that there's been a lot of drama sparking between Lucasfilm, the Walt Disney Company, and even among other divisions associated with the Disney Company. But this is exactly why I always like to say that Lucasfilm is the worst division of all time under Bob Iger's leadership and his overall way of handling the overall company, and exactly why. It all has a lot to do with Kathleen Kennedy running the show, who she hires to take on these various projects. In this scenario, Leslye Headland of the Acolyte series, which by the way met its cancellation just a couple of days ago after that final decision was made by Bob Iger. However, when it all boils down to the main lead of the Acolyte, Amandla Stenberg, this is where things begin to get very interesting. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about the Acolyte that I think that we could all agree on here is the fact that it is a terribly written show. It has awful acting. The execution is subpar. There's nothing great about this series whatsoever, and it really does stand as the worst production coming out of Lucasfilm under Disney's wing. Now, when you look at everything, in the rearview mirror here with the Acolyte, it is very much forgettable. Nobody really remembers anything of substance from the show because, well, there is no substance in this series. But focusing on Amandla Stenberg, and after, of course, everything that did happen behind the scenes, after she was indeed let go from all Star Wars projects, much like Leslye Headland was, there's a lot of anger coming out of those from Leslye, Amandla, Kathleen Kennedy against the fans. Let's get into this, shall we? Now, specifically with both the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm already struggling after the Acolyte's cancellation and the backlash from those like Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland, one significant development going on right now has more to do with Stenberg and her response after the cancellation of the Acolyte and her firing from Lucasfilm and the ongoing backlash over the series weeks after its finale debuted on Disney Plus and the Nielsen ratings came out. Stenberg delivered the following. Obviously, as one who is part of the LGBTQ community, I was one of the first to witness how disgusting the toxic side of the Star Wars fandom can really be. The ones that remain opposed to representation and the great usage of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just how important it is. As an actress who takes pride in my work, especially for these two characters, Osha and May, I will say this, that everything is nothing but smoke and mirrors from fake fans, and fake reviews to get the type of reaction and response that they want from the studios, and this happens far too many times in this industry, and we are witnessing this again with Disney and what Lucasfilm had tried to accomplish with Kathleen Kennedy's vision. It was deeply disturbing to see such a successful show to not really move forward, and I didn't really want to talk about the Acolyte Season 2 for so long, but here we are. But expanding this story is just not going anywhere now because of toxic males. This is a fine example of just how toxic fandom culture is, and always will be. I have witnessed this twice with both Star Wars and Marvel now, and it's the most childish behavior that you can see. It's one thing for creative differences to happen between the talent and the studio heads, but when loud voices get involved that detour the route that you want to take, especially in Star Wars, that just does not sit well with me at all. And I do agree with Leslye that there is a silent, large fan base of the Acolyte that is just afraid to speak up and to speak their minds, and I think they are sort of to blame as well. Because if those voices were heard, perhaps, this story could have had a better future with Disney and Lucasfilm and everything that they plan to do with the amazing characters that were so revolutionary to the brand. Guys, let me just stop here quick. There's nothing revolutionary about these characters. Osha, May, Mother Anastasia, Mother Coral, Vernestra, all these different characters really were not revolutionary at all. Very bland, terribly acted, and really didn't really contribute anything to the story. The only character that I think may have done well in the show was because of the actor, alright? Manny Jacinto, I believe is how you pronounce his name, as Kai Mir. I believe his acting was good. He was really the only good thing that came out of the show acting-wise. Maybe Soul, as a character, he was, something of substance there. But there really was nothing truly concrete about the Acolyte at all. You know, throwing in Darth Plagueis, throwing in Yoda only made things far worse, and it really ticked off a lot of fans. And don't even get me started on the whole Ki-Adi-Mundi drama. However, it was time, she says, to move on from George Lucas, whose vision isn't really relevant anymore. We had to attract a new generation that is open to the modern world and how the modern female is seen today in this day and age. We all knew that was very important, and to see Leslie's dreams limited just feels so wrong. As one who considers myself non-binary, Leslye and I knew it was very important to represent that group in this series with Osha and May, a non-binary. To have so many fans opposed to that LGBTQ community, well, they are the problem. It's what is all, of course, boils down to their use of fake reviews and fake critics to create their own narrative to convince this industry to make certain decisions. I am glad to see that we are beginning to see more loud supporters of the Acolyte speaking up, but it's just not enough yet. So guys, again, I think that what she's alluding to there are the petition that's going on, or it's the petitions that are going on right now for the Acolyte Season 2 to be reinstated. And it's really not a majority at all. There's really not that, much of a large amount of people waking up or really taking a stand against Disney to really kind of bring this back. Nobody wants the Acolyte series. Nobody wants this show, period, the end. The majority of fans or the general public that watch this thing were really just disgusted with what they did with the show, with what they did with George Lucas's vision, myself included. I thought it was an awful series. Episodes 1 through 8, especially, by the way, episodes, in the very beginning stages, were probably the worst addition to the Acolyte. And to top things all off, like I said earlier, including Plagueis and Yoda really didn't help at all. It came off as very desperate, it came off as very lazy, and really added nothing of value to the show. If anything, it devalued the characters of Yoda and Darth Plagueis. Imagine that. The first time you get to see Plagueis in live action, in a failed show, in a show full of ideology, full of the typical Disney agenda, not a shocker there. So Amandla Stenberg's obviously taking her anger out on the fans. She's pointing the finger at fake reviews that, fake reviews this, and they basically will never admit failure. This is exactly why I always like to say, people out there like Kathleen Kennedy, Amandla Stenberg, Leslye Headland, Rian Johnson, they will never admit that their project failed. That they will never admit that the fans are right, and that they will never own their mistakes. And that's just typical Lucasfilm, that's typical those that are hired at Lucasfilm. And it's never going to change as long as you have Kathleen Kennedy and Kathleen Kennedy loyalists working at the company. That's why I said even if Kathleen Kennedy steps down or gets fired, things really aren't going to change. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.